Welcome to Rick on Life, brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Media Project. I'm your host, Rick Amitin, and this is where we love to talk about things that impact our lives. Today, we're going to be talking about finding your place in an ever-changing world with author Lily Amos. Lily is a children and YA author. She's a blogger, illustrator, publisher, and columnist. Lily is the author of Destination Freedom and 13 more books, both in English and German. With her honest memoir, Lily has enjoyed strong media exposure and public interest during the refugee crisis in the summer of 2015. In 2017, Lily published her first magazine, the free blogger magazine called Read My Mind, which is about publishing books, music, movies, design art, travel, and history, and is available 3 times a year in March, July, and November. In full disclosure, I am a contributing columnist to Read My Mind magazine, and very happy to do so. Lily, I'm so pleased to have you here. Welcome to Rick on Life.
Thank you so much for having me, Rick. Thank you.
Listen, you have quite a story to tell, and before we get into more of your actual work, I'd like to give the people some understanding about who you are as a person and the journey that you've been on. So things changed significantly when you were a child, but let's begin just a little bit before that major change took place. And let's talk about how life was, how you remember it being, until you were up to age like 5 years old.
Oh, wow. To be honest, I have a bad memory of my childhood. I think my first memory started when I was actually 5 years old. And I was, I think I was in Germany in kindergarten. And I was there because of an eye surgery that I had. And I had to stay there for 1 year. So I was going to kindergarten, happy child. I missed my grandparents, of course. And but I was there with my mom for a year. And then after 1 year, we went back to my hometown, to Tehran. No, I'm sorry. Actually, before we went back, we went to America. So we were in America for a couple of weeks. We were in Los Angeles, where we had family members. And I have very little memory, but I remember like Disneyland, you know, typical kids memory. So I was in Disneyland. That was a joyful day. And then we went back to Iran, and then I just went back to normal life. And I had the love of my grandparents, and I went to school. I started to go to school, and I had a happy childhood, I have to say. I was very blessed.
Good. You know, I have a big sensitivity to fatherlessness and children who grow up without their fathers. And you've written about that your dad left. I think you were about 5 years old when he left.
Exactly when we went back from America, I never saw him again. That was exactly the time. And that's probably the reason why I don't have any memory, because I think it was so painful that I somehow just blocked, just as my self-protection. And I have absolutely no memory about this time. So my memory starts with my grandparents, the love of my grandparents, my mom, me and the neighborhood, the neighbor kids. But this era, I just blocked it completely. And that's probably the reason why I have absolutely no memory from when I was 3, 4, nothing. That must be it. That's my explanation. Yeah.
Sure. No, I understand. And, you know, I met my father only once when I was about 5 years old. And he came in out of nowhere, and we had a great couple of hours. And, you know, it was the time of my life for a little 5-year-old. And he made a lot of promises about he was going to be there from now on. We were going to have these wonderful experiences and spend time together, but he too walked out, and I never heard from him again.
So we have this in common, yeah.
So I very much understand, you know, the pain associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you were about 10 years old, war broke out in your country
Yeah,
and
sadly.
changed your life. So tell us a little bit about how that affected you and how you and your mom moved on from there.
Well, it was a shock because as a child you don't understand what's going on, right? You go to school, you have your daily life, and all of a sudden you hear all these negative things and scary stuff, and then you see the news, and then it starts. The bombing starts, and I remember I was really scared. All I was saying was, I don't want to die. I was shouting, and the scary part was when it was in the night. During the days, it was not that scary, but in the nights when you were sleeping, like nobody was sleeping anymore because you knew they were coming, and you hear the bombings. I remember that everyone was so scared, and as a child, I mean, you don't understand what's going on, right? You just all you hear is like, nobody wants to die, we want to live, and that was really, really scary. I remember the noises like it was yesterday. So that changed everything because the school closed because they didn't want to risk to have children in the school during the days, during the bombings. So my entire life was upside down and no school anymore, and you just were waiting to die, basically. Like you woke up and you were like, this is my last day, and the family was gathering together, and you just don't know what's going on, and you think every day is the last day, and that's the scary part. Or you think, I'm going to lose people that I love. And I remember after every bombing, families were calling each other just to see, hey, are you fine? Is everything okay? And that was really, I don't wish this for anyone because that's not a nice experience as a child.
Sure. I mean, I can only imagine. I have been in plenty of scary situations, but I've never been standing where bombs were,
Thank God.
falling around me and all of that. But I mean, I can certainly connect to what you're saying and get a sense of, how that must have felt.
Mhm.
So, your mother made the decision to leave to get you out of the country. And I think I read somewhere that Zurich was not your intended destination. Where were you headed?
You know, my mom, when she was 17, she had left Iran, and she lived in Germany, in Austria, in Italy, in England for a long time. So she was always a European, and for her it was like, okay, we have to leave this country because I want a future for my kid and for myself. And we tried everything to get visas for Germany and countries such as America and Canada, because we had also family members in Canada and United States. But the embassies, they didn't care. You had no chance to get a visa. Everybody was trying to get out of the country. And there was only one solution at that time, that was Singapore. And Singapore, you didn't need a visa. So my mom said, okay, let's go to Singapore and try to get a visa to Canada or United States from there. And that was the plan. So we sold everything we had with just 2 suitcases, like on the cover of my book.
Mm-hmm.
We just left. We left with the hope that we would have the chance to get a visa somewhere else. And once we were in Singapore, and I remember the whole journey very well, like it was yesterday. It was beautiful. Singapore was beautiful. I loved it. The people were really nice, really sweet, kind. But again, my mom went to the embassies and she didn't get a visa. And the problem was you had to wait for more than, I think, 14 days. And in Singapore, back then, it was like, it is an island and you are not allowed to stay more than a certain time. So we had to leave Singapore. And it was like, okay, there is certainly no way that we're going back to the war. We were happy to leave the war. So we have to find another destination. And we met people, it's all in my book. So we met people and they had their connections and they said, hey, there is a flight to Yugoslavia, back then Yugoslavia, with a stop in Zurich. And my mom was in Zurich back then. She spoke fluent German, and she said, hey, okay, let's give it a try. Then we go to Switzerland, and at least I speak the language, so we can try it there, again with the embassies. And that was the plan. So we took the plane to Yugoslavia, landed in Zurich, and we waited until the plane was gone to Yugoslavia, and then we went to the police and said, hey, hi. I mean, my mom said it, I was just a child, and I was scared to death. she said, "Hey, we are here, and we just want to live. We just don't want to go back to war, and we don't want to stay here." She said that immediately. "It's not our plan to stay here. We just want to move on. We have family members," and that's how everything started. But you know, planning something is one thing. Destiny has other plans. 3 decades later, I'm still in Zurich.
Sure.
I didn't plan that.
Yeah, and you document this in your memoir. So tell us a little bit about your memoir.
Well, my memoir is a very honest memoir. I think it's the most honest memoir you can imagine. I didn't sugarcoat anything, you know. I think what I experienced it's not like just my story, it is many people's story. So I felt like it is my obligation to share my story, to give a view to people who have such a negative view of refugees and the refugee crisis, who feel that people who come from war don't have the right, or they shouldn't come. Because everyone who read my book said afterwards to me, or contacted me, even people that I know, that I'm happy I read this book. I understand now the situation from the other point of view, especially because I wrote everything from the point of a child, from the view of a child, not as an adult. I went back and I explained how I saw the things when I was 10, when I was 14, 15, 20. And many people said, I'm happy because now I have another view and I have a full understanding, and I work on my attitude. And that was my goal from the beginning, just the empathy for people who are in difficult situations. Right now, with the hurricane in America, what happened? Look, so many people are homeless now, or they have lost everything they had. And this is the sense of feeling. This is what I'm saying in my book. Everyone can become a refugee. It doesn't need to be war. In my case, it was war. But even a hurricane can destroy your life, and you lose everything. So, and then you stand here and you need help, you need support. And so what do you do when somebody comes to you and says, hey, Rick, I have lost everything. Give me a chance. I want to live. I'm not asking for much. That's what the refugees ask. They have nothing anymore. Seeing the refugees in Syria right now, when you see the images, they don't have anything. Where should they go back? People say in Germany now, yeah, we have them now for a while, but they should go back. Where should they go? What should they do? I mean, this is just ridiculous. That was the case with us. We were accepted as, what did they call it? Limited time refugees. But limited time, I mean, even when war is ending, still, when you're here in another country, you have adopted yourself. I went to school. Today, I'm a foreigner in my own country. When I go there, I was there 2 years ago for the last time. I feel like a foreigner. I'm not an Iranian. You know what I mean? I speak the language. It's my culture. I was born there. My parents are from there. My grandparents are from there. But I'm not an Iranian. But I'm also not a Swiss person. I'm just something in the middle. So that's the sad part about it. You're homeless. You don't have any place to go. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, and your memoir is Destination Freedom, right?
Yes.
That's the one. And you know, I hope people will respond to you and get that book. You know, there's always two sides of the argument. I mean, there is you know, the reasonable fears and concerns that host countries have when these large groups of people, you know,
Which is
come into
absolutely understandable.
But I think it's so helpful to understand, you know, the experience that you actually have, you know, as a refugee. I don't think we can have a full understanding without knowing, you know, the other side, you know,
Exactly.
and how you're feeling and how you know, you're experiencing the world, you know, that you're living in and the place that you are around. You know, I'm all about love. So, I mean, I think you have to, you know, that compassion is where we begin. And that should encompass all of our fundamental thinking and our responses, you know, to one another. And, you know, that these things that we all face, you know, unfortunately, I mean, I know people who had a much different story to tell about their migrating. and things went so much better for them, and they
Good for them.
found a place. They, you know, they felt accepted. They augmented into the community and the society at large, and so they tell a much, you know, different story. So when I hear someone like you telling, you know, the story of heartbreak and struggle and the difficulties, you know, that touches me very, very, very deeply, because, you know, I think suffering is a condition that we all have to respond to. And, you know, we might come from different countries and we might have different cultures, but people have equal value. And we need to see them as the human beings that they are,
Exactly.
not as
Exactly.
something else, you know.
Because at the end of the day, as I always say, we all are here as guests for a short while. And
Right.
it doesn't matter what nationality, religion, skin color, gender, it doesn't matter. We are all here as guests, and we all deserve the same chances. And everyone has equal is that we all want happiness, right? Everybody wants to be happy.
Yeah, we
Everybody,
want to be loved and
yeah,
accepted.
love and exactly accepted the way you are. And when you are a child and you come to a new country and you had this traumatic experience as a child when your father left you with 5 years old, right? You had this first experience of rejection. Then you deal with it as a child somehow. And then you come to a new country and then you feel the rejection from the minute you enter the country. And it was from the minute I had my foot on the ground. I felt the rejection until today. It's the same, nothing has changed. So this is painful, this is hurtful. It's like you're never good enough and people don't accept you. As a child, I remember how the Swiss policeman stood next to me. I mean, remember, I said I was 10 years old as a child, tiny little girl. And then Swiss policemen stand next to you with machine guns like this. And on your right and on your left, like you're a criminal. They treated us from the start, from the minute we came to the country, like criminals. And all we were saying is like, hey, we are coming from war and we are looking for somewhere to stay for now. Nobody said anything about staying here. And that was the reaction. So that was my second feeling of like, okay, another rejection. They treat you badly, like you're something bad, like you would harm them. And then it continued and continued. That's why Destination Freedom, the title, when you read this, it's like you feel like I'm talking about leaving my home country to find freedom elsewhere. But the ironic is once you read the book, you understand that the title is the opposite. I found my freedom 15 years later when I went back to my hometown. So that's the irony about the title. It's not freedom, I found freedom in Europe. I found it when I went back 15 years later. I'm not going to say more because it's all in the book, but that's the irony of the title.
Yeah, and like I said, I do hope that people will read your book. I think it will go a long ways to helping everybody understand the plight of refugees, and you know, and what they actually experience when they find themselves in different countries, you know, than the home of their origin. You and I met on Facebook, and I do remember very distinctly responding to some of your posts.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm always trying to be inspirational and empowering
You are.
people, thank you. You know, you were posting things that I identified with, and I remember responding to you of something about, you know, how much I appreciated, you know, what you were saying, and
I remember that, yeah.
just a post. You escaped into writing, and you know, I think you're a prolific author now. You have what, 14 books? Is it 14 books? And
I don't know anymore.
yeah.
I'm just publishing.
Your writing is I think you explain it as always being centered in true stories. And so
exactly.
it's
always inspired by true stories and true people.
It's the depth and capacity that you have in the experience of your life that you found a way to bring that out, mm-hmm. and put it on paper. And so when people are reading you, mm-hmm. you know, you write children's books, you've got YA books, you've got your memoir. When people are reading you, beyond the story that you're telling, which are the facts that you're laying out and the experiences, but if you had like one central theme of what you wanted people to take away from who you are as the author writing that book, what would it be?
One word or one sentence, that's I need more. You know, I want people to learn something because like you, I like to be inspired. And I want the people, the readers, to put the book aside and say, wow, I learned something, whatever it is. And I'm especially focused on values in our society that are forgotten. For example, respect, tolerance, acceptance, loyalty, friendship, honesty. Honesty is very important for me. That's something that I really, that's my, if I had to say one word, it's honesty. Because if people were more honest in this world, the world would be a much better place. Unfortunately, we live in a world where everybody's pretending. I don't know why. Maybe it was like this, or it was always like this. I don't know why, but I feel that these days, especially with social media, people have the pressure to show off and pretend to be something that they're not. And honesty is the key to everything, to every relationship. And for me, if I had to say one word, it's honesty. And second word is loyalty. That's what I want to give to people, just to be themselves, you know, don't pretend to be something you're not. Be happy with yourself. The problem is that people are not only not honest with other people, they're not even honest with themselves. That's where the problem starts. Be honest with you, be honest with who you are, and nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. That's what makes us human. So that would be my message.
Yeah, you know, I'm a bit older than you are, and you know, I have some observations.
Older and wiser.
I have some observations, you know, that I carry, you know, into where I am now. And that is that I think that understanding is the key component to true progress and in our own lives and in the world at large. And I think oftentimes people are simply operating at the level that they're operating at based on their understanding. That's why I think we have to keep learning. You know, I love to say that I am a student for life, and I'm committed to you know, to understanding you. I mean, you know, you touch my heart. Your story touches my heart, and you know, if I allow it, it brings the emotion, and my eyes fill with tears, and I don't like the suffering, you know, that we're all experiencing. And I don't think it's you. I think when your understanding is where it needs to be, when you hurt, I should feel that, you know. And so we need to care about the person on our right and the person on our left and what's going on around them, not just our central focus. And so yeah, I agree with you. You know, I think it's I take friendship very I hold it very highly. You know, I take it responsibly, because I think it's not only expensive to be a friend, I think it's expensive to have friends.
Wow, very well said, Rick.
And I think that, you know, if you want to be a friend to the world, which I do, you know, I want every person, and wherever they might be in the world, if they ever come in contact with me, I want them to say about me, man, he is a compassionate, loving human.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I want.
Exactly.
And so we have to, I think when we're working with, you know, people who are at different levels of their own journey and different levels of their own progress, and it's true, you can't be honest with anybody else until you are honest with yourself.
Exactly.
But oftentimes denial is so deceiving.
It's easier.
You don't realize that you're even lying, you know, to yourself.
Yeah, you're so right. Yeah, that's exactly the problem.
Well, which of your books is your favorite?
Oh, wow. What a question. They are so different. It depends on the time. You know, right now, my favorite book is I think it's Teddy and Lily. Teddy and Lily is inspired by my memoir, Destination Freedom. And it is written from the point of view of a teddy, of my teddy. And it was funny because I had the idea when I'm working on the last part of my trilogy. My memoir is a trilogy. So Destination Freedom is the first part. Definition of Freedom is the second. And now I'm working on Definition of Love. And Definition of Love is hard. It's a hard title. And I was trying to figure out all the people that were in my life. They weren't here, they're not anymore. And I was just thinking, I was making a list and I realized so many people come and go. And the only thing that is still here is my teddy, except my mom, of course. Yeah. And then I realized, wow, you see, people come and go, friendships end, you know, that's the sad thing. And all what people leave behind are memories, and it's good to leave good memories. And unfortunately, not many people leave good memories. And that's how I came up with the idea with Teddy. I realized that Teddy is your close friend. Once you have it for life. And then I start to write the book from the point of view of a teddy, that humans are not as loyal as they should be, unfortunately, and how important it is to value friendship and everything I said before, honesty, respect, and all of that. So Teddy and Lily is for sure my favorite story because it has a message, it has a universal message, and it is I say age and timeless story. And I think even adults who read it will enjoy it because they will see it from another point of view. Many people who read the book texted me or sent me a message on Facebook and said they remembered their first, maybe they didn't have a teddy, they had a bunny or whatever, but they remembered like, oh, I remember now what I had and what was my friend when I was a child and who gave me comfort. And that was a nice feeling. This emotion was a nice reminder of this emotion that I had. So I want to show children and adults the value of friendship through the eyes of a teddy.
That's great. I'm curious if there is a book lodged deep inside of you that you haven't even begun to write, but that you have some sense that someday you're going to write this particular book. Do you have that?
I think Definition of Love. That's why I'm so struggling with Definition of Love, because it is somehow a closure of everything I experienced. It has also to do with my father and the family of my father's side, and what I experienced in the last 2 years. I'm not going to say anything. It's going to be in the book, and it is painful, and that's why I'm so struggling with it. And when I finish it, I think that's going to be the book. But I don't know when I'm going. My wish was to finish it this year, but it's like sometimes you just have to give it time and just, yeah.
Yeah, you know, not everything gets written quickly. Some things, just stories come and articles come and you just sit down in one setting, you know, and you pound it out. And other things are so deep, you know, and there's so many arteries running through the root of the message that you end up exploring so many of those things. But, you know, we can't hear enough about love. And so, you know, I'll be excited for you to finish that project.
Me too. Trust me, me too.
Let's talk about Read My Mind magazine. And
our baby.
How that came about.
Well, I had the idea in the beginning of 2017, actually, because I somehow feel that we independent authors, we need more than just the social media. Social media is good, and I'm happy that we have it, but I feel that we need more ways of showing us and our ability of writing, and blogging is for sure something that helps many authors. And I had the idea to bring a few good authors and bloggers in one place, because we are everywhere in the world. You're in America, I'm in Switzerland, we have people from UK, and I thought, let's bring them together with the best posts and inspiring and educational, sometimes also funny articles, and just as a new source of showing us as authors, but also our writing. That was the idea.
Yeah, and it is a collection of, you know, international people, and you know, that's when you first invited me to participate in it, I was immediately drawn to the project. One, because it was you, and two, because of the international scope. You know, that the magazine represented, and I immediately felt the sense of being able to connect, you know, with the larger world and participate in something that was bigger, you know, than myself. And so I'm always, you know, of course, drawn to those kinds of projects.
And we have readerships from everywhere. I mean, when I look at the statistic every day, right now I can tell you, good news, we have over 150,000 readers for the two first issues. I mean, that's a lot, 150,000. We started in April. The first issue was out in April. The second was out in July. And the third and last for this year is going to be out in November. So 150,000 readers from really places that I don't even know where they are when I see them. It's like, this is wow. This is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first I'd heard of those numbers, and so it is very exciting, very, very encouraging. You know, I like, you know, I read it. I don't just write for it. I read the, you know, the magazine.
Me too.
And so the links are going to be available in the article, so people will know how to get it. But you also are, and I didn't ask you about this, so if I'm saying the wrong thing here, just let me know and we'll stop.
Okay.
But I think you have an interest in receiving submissions from other people who might be interested in.
Yes, absolutely.
In it. So again, the information is going to be available, so they'll be able to contact you and get instruction, information on how to do it. But I thought it would be good to let potential bloggers and writers out there, authors, who might have an interest in being published in Read My Mind magazine, to know that that's available to them. And so we can open that up and maybe receive some additional.
Definitely. 2018, if you are an author and if you have a book, you can have also more books, I don't know. But if you're interested in writing something educational, inspiring, and we're writing about everything besides politics and religion, because we want people to be entertained. We are having enough struggles and problems in our daily life. We want to have positive topics in our magazine. So if anyone feels that this is something for me, just contact us. We are happy to have.
Absolutely. And now I want to talk about the project that I've got the most excited about recently. Because, you know, I have a heart for children. And when you first made me aware of your Teddy project, I immediately looked for an opportunity to support you in that project, because that it involves kids. And, you know, I love contributing positively and warmly and causing kids to feel a spark of life and
exactly that's what you want to do.
And you know, and so that really excited me. So tell us a little bit about the Teddy project.
Well, this is completely something new. I have always ideas, always. But this is very close to my heart because, as you say, it's something for children. And Teddy and Lily, the book, I published this summer. I didn't do it. I produced an audiobook with a very talented singer and songwriter and voiceover and actor, Carl Lindquist. He's from Sweden. He's a professional actor in London, and he was actually featured in our spring issue in the first magazine. So I asked him if he would do this for me and if he would be my Teddy, so to say, and give my Teddy a voice. And he said immediately yes. He read the story, he liked it, and I'm very happy with the result. And I had the idea that we could make children happy, especially children that are in hospital or schools with special need, or refugee children, just children that need to be happy, need, as you say, a sparkle of joy in their eye. And the idea is to give them a copy of the book and the audiobook that will be soon available. It's not yet, and soon it's going to be available. Just make a package, a happy package, just surprise them with something that has lots of messages about love and friendship. So that's the plan. And you were so kind enough to say you would support me with children in hospital in San Francisco. And I'm open to all countries that have English-speaking children. I made a list on my blog, so you see which countries are okay. It's more also an issue about the shipping cost. That's why certain countries are just too expensive to ship it. But the more children we can make happy, the better. So that's the plan. And it's not only now for Christmas. This is going to be a project that we will do for the next years, hopefully. And I plan to do this every couple of months, just do a real big packaging and send across the world to children. But I need, of course, I need contact information. I need to have names. I need to know where to send it to. I need to have names of schools, hospitals, refugee shelters. And that's where people come in. So if anyone knows a child or a hospital or a school, just contact us, give us the information, and we will make a surprise package, a gift package with the CD and with the book and send it to the children.
Yeah, you know, I told you that my plan is to actually try and video.
That's what that's lovely.
Actually taking the gifts and giving them to the children and videoing them. And then when I spoke to my wife, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to do that, but we may be able to do it. We may not be able to do it in the hospital, but we may be able to do it someplace else.
I get it, yeah.
Because the hospital may not want the liability of filming children. So well, we'll address that, because I think it is very, first off, thanks for doing the project and opening it up the way that you are here today. And, you know, people need to understand that this could get very large and it could become a very expensive thing. And so people, you know, I think if they will do even more than just supply you the name of a child, but maybe if they're willing to actually make that delivery, get permission to either video it or take pictures, you know, I think this could be a project where you could collect those memories. And
that would be wonderful.
Maybe we could do it, you know, do something in Read My Mind, or, you know, whatever else, to just be able to promote something so wonderful.
For sure, that's the plan. Yeah,
that's
the plan. I hope we can do this. Yeah.
Well, I expect you might hear from people, you know, from this project.
Hopefully, yeah.
Just a wonderful gift.
There will be a formula on my web page with contact information, and also the possibility to make donations to help us, because producing the book and the CD is one thing. The shipping cost is also expensive depending on the country. So if we could get people to, if every person who has the contact information would also make a donation, it would help me to make this a bigger and bigger project and to be able to send out to everywhere. And that's hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I want to see happen. You know, and things come up. I mean, I had a nephew, 31 years old, killed in an automobile accident yesterday.
What?
And he has 5-year-old twins.
Oh my God.
And you know, when I was again preparing for this show with you today, I thought, you know, here's a couple of children who,
oh my God,
you know, will have a wonderful. This would make a wonderful, you know, gift to their life, and so I'm going to try to include them in, you know, in this project.
Very sorry to hear this, Rick. You shock me now.
Yeah, you know, life changes so fast, so fast. He was actually, I don't really know him all that well. That got to be honest with you. He was somebody that I discovered on my father's side of the family. Actually, he found us. We didn't find him.
Okay.
And so we've had some correspondence back and forth. But, you know, it's not, I felt an immediate sadness that we didn't know each other better, you know, than we did, but I was still completely devastated by the news.
You shocked me now.
And he's
this is too much for me. I'm too emotional.
Yeah, you know, and he was a wonderful young man. I mean, he had a beautiful family, a beautiful wife and children, and he's a police officer, and it appears that he might have fallen asleep at the wheel and crossed the lane and ran into a truck. And so, yeah, these things happen. But, you know, beyond that, beyond the tragedy of that and the mourning of that and the sadness of that, you've got two children now, you know, who, again, are going to be without their dads. And this just continues to, you know, grab my heart and say, okay, now you can't look backwards. You can't live in wishful thinking, but we can go forward now and make an impact and do what we can, you know, to be supportive and with his wife and his children. And so again, it's a project, you know, that people can find, you know, hurting children all over the place.
You are so right. There are too many children that need love and compassion and caring, and that's, even if it's just a smile for a short while, it helps.
It does help. And Lily, we're coming here to the close.
Oh, wow, already.
Do you have any parting thoughts or words or message that you would like to communicate before we...
Be kind to one another, as Ellen DeGeneres always says. Be kind to one another. That's what I wish, that people should be more honest, more kind, more loving, more giving. And it doesn't kill you to be nice and just to be helpful. Care about the people around you. Spend more time with your loved ones. Forget social media. Social media is good, but you know what I mean? It's these days, everything is so superficial. Be with your loved ones. Spend time with your loved ones. As you say, with your example, you don't know what tomorrow brings. You have no idea what's around the corner. Enjoy every day and just be remember that we all will be memories one day, right? Nothing but memories. So leave a good memory behind that people say, hey, do you remember this person? God bless him or God bless her. And not like, oh my God, thank God she's gone or he's gone. You know what I mean? Just be kind and leave a good, loving, caring memory. That's what I would say.
Great. Well, listen, all of your contact links are going to be in the article that accompanies this show, but just so we can announce it here also, what is the one best way to communicate with you?
Well, my website, www.lilyamos.com. That's where you find all the links to all the social media contacts, and it is always updated, so you know what's going on. You see my books. The books are linked to the pages where you can get them in print, as ebook. My website is the best place to find me.
Well, Lily, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you for having me, Rick. I'm very touched and honored, and I'm so happy for you with your show. I mean, when you told me you were going to have your show, I was like, wow, I knew he can do it. Now he has his show. Yeah. I'm proud of you, and I'm happy to have you on Read My Mind. I'm very happy to have you next year also as one of our bloggers. So thank you for having me. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being such a lovely, caring, and sweet friend.
Well, thanks. You know, I have the highest regard for you and deep affection in my heart for you. And I'm glad that we're connected. And don't go away now as I end this show. Then I'll talk to you. Okay. Thanks for joining us today. This is Rick Amitin with Rick on Life. And remember, no matter what's going on in your life, just sprinkle a little love on it. I'll see you next time.